Oh, Dave. Good. How are you?
I'm really, really well. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity to chat to us today. I sat down and watched your film, and I have to say, it is an absolute masterpiece. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So, Phil, tell us a little bit about where the idea for this film first came about for you 30 years ago.
Well, years before that, I had tried to develop uh, something that was more, in tone with Richard Corbin and, Mobius. And I just, at some point, realized. Hey, I can't talk now. Okay. Um, and I abandoned those projects. I did a bunch of designs and whatnot, and then um, about 30 years ago, um, I had this idea to do something, and I'm creatively totally driven by my unconscious. So I have no idea what path I'm going down, and that was the process. But I'm never for a lack of ideas and concepts, and so my brain. I'm bipolar and I have ADD and OCD and whatnot, and I don't get depressed very often at all, but my manic side is my superpower, and I can just overcome any obstacle and just keep working. Um, and that eventually got the better of me as I neared the end of the project. I had a psychic breakdown. I had to go to the psych ward to recover, and I was not there that long, but then the recovery took about 6 weeks, and it was very slow recovery. I kind of blew my brains out, and or I got totally lost, and I didn't know where I was. Are you familiar with Carl Jung's The Red Book?
No, no.
So Carl Jung secretly wrote this beautiful book, and it was called the Red Book later on because it was bound in red. And Cashin put out a really great copy of it, and it's got immaculate calligraphy and beautiful paintings. But the same thing that happened to me happened to him years ago, and his family had to pull him out of it. And he eventually recovered. I like to imagine that his family sent him to a psychiatrist.
Yep.
But uh, uh, that happens a great deal to people that are super involved with what they're doing. For instance, Francis Coppola, after he completed Apocalypse Now, just had a mental prolapse. It took him quite a while to recover.
Yep.
So yeah, and then you hear that a great deal from. I mean, the circles I travel in are all creative people. They're not scientists or anything, but the same thing is that people that get really involved and obsessively involved with things, you reach this point, this kind of tipping just they're just totally overwhelmed.
Is this the first project that you've worked on where this has happened for you? Like, and do you think that's because this project was something that was 100% from your own mind?
Yeah, no, it's never happened to me before on anything, but they weren't. I was just a work for hire,
Yep.
and I was happy to get paid, and worked on some memorable movies, but no, it was that was all easy. All those jobs were easy unless I had an idiot director. We call them in the States FIDS, FIDS, that stands for fucking idiot director. And so those projects are never fun.
Yep.
But luckily, they were very rare for me. And no, but Mad God was very different. Are you familiar with the term solipsism?
No.
It means that you can only know your own mind.
Yep.
If you think everything that you're seeing and looking at is reality, the true reality is it's all filtered into your mind, and everybody has a different filter, and it's a kind of a cage, but it's a cage that's a universe, and you can go anywhere in it and summon up all kinds of things, but you can also then go down many paths, and some of them you'll get lost on, and it will be overwhelming. So that was pretty much what happened. It happens frequently to people.
You mentioned before that there was no real path with Mad God. Did you have a screenplay or a treatment or anything like that you ever worked off, or was this a project that when you started it you did not know where that character journey was going to end up for the characters?
No, I had about 15 pages that I wrote, like a rough outline 30 years ago, and that was primarily tone. There were a few thoughts that turned into scenes, and once I just started working on them, so my wife was in the editorial department on Amadeus, and we would go out to dinner with Milos Forman, and as a young filmmaker I asked him what advice he could give me as a young filmmaker, and he told me the best advice I ever got, which was, if you want to take a good shit, you have to eat well. And that's exactly what, I totally got it. The more time you spend on a project, the better it's going to be. And so I had plenty of time to think about this when I was like, when the digital revolution hit, it was all a vertical climb for all of us. And so it occupied all my time. And, I have to go on location and, production meetings. And of course, the post-production period was, the most intense and most lengthy. And so in the evenings, I would, just let my mind go and started doing some watercolors and drawings that, that had the tone of Mad God, and a number of those, watercolors became scenes, and a number of them didn't. It's just like anytime you're making something, there's a lot of stuff you throw away. And,
Yep.
Yeah, so that was pretty much how it worked.
Phil, how long does it normally take you to create a character from start to finish?
Well, let's see. When I was doing the first part of Mad God, we shot about 3 minutes in the 80s, and then I lost my crew to Henry Selick and Tim Burton, and the project was just too huge in scope for me to do. And so, I abandoned it for that period of time and did all my studying and homework. And when I was on location, I would do drawings and designs and some, storyboards, some of which, turned into scenes in Mad God, and, many of which were discarded. So I would just let my mind go. I mean, my unconscious does all the thinking for me.
Yep.
And if you look at interviews, the equivalent of interviews with Bach, Beethoven, and Mozart, when asked how they do their amazing music, they said, "I just transcribe it. It comes from God," and that's true.
Yep.
It's totally, you just release your unconscious, and it tells you what to do. And it literally is a transcription. But in terms of making a character, there was this one character in it that that we called the butt sergeant, that has a whip and whips the little shitmen that are foam latex rubber castings. And then I cleaned out my vacuum cleaner, and there was a lot of dust and cat hair in it, and I glued those to the shitmen. And so you can see, just like in King Kong, its fur is moving all the time, and this you could see what the imprint of the animator's hands were on it. And but that particular character, I had an armature for it and cast it, and I kept it for so long that it, finally disintegrated, and I did it for Mad God, for this character we called the Shiat, that lives in, like a haunted house. I think I used a model of the Addams Family haunted house.
Yep.
And that creature, finds this character we called the Creep, who lured a small, bird-like reptile thing into his 50-gallon drum, and the Shiat comes down and kills him and hacks him apart. And so again, when I was in that 20-year phase of figuring things out, I didn't have any idea, exactly what I knew vaguely what the butt sergeant was going to look like. But I didn't like the first design. There was something that it just didn't come together somehow. And then a friend of mine inherited a ranch down the peninsula from us, and she had two spinster aunts that lived together in this really beautiful Victorian building. And so she gave us a tour of that place, which was one of the aunt's bedrooms, and in it, in the glass, it was like a pint glass, and you'd see, you know, rings of water that had evaporated over the years, and at the bottom of that were a pair of dentures, and they were beautiful old dentures, and I took them out and started looking at them and turning them around and whatnot, and when I turned them upside down, it was like, bing, okay, I know where to start. I know this is the coat hanger that I hang everything on, because when I turned it upside down, you know, that was going to be it. And so that's part of the process.
Yeah.
And then it's just a matter of, you know, I have a lot of stop motion armature parts, you know, to put together. And so that, you know, roughly, or pretty much, you know, sets off, you know, how big the puppet's going to be, and like the shit is fabricated all with like upholstery foam and all kinds of different things, and but this butt sergeant creature I sculpted in clay and molded it and cast it in foam latex, and you know, I have no idea how long it took, you know, because again, you know, a lot of it was while I was working on other projects.
Yep.
Yeah, so that, you know, no way of calculating how long that took.
Yeah. Well, Phil, I know it's been an absolute honor chatting to you. I know we are right out of time, but I just wanted to say again, congratulations on such a marvelous film, and thank you for all the cinematic magic that you've brought us over the years.
Okay, well,